On this edition of Doctor's File, we discuss hypertension with Dr. Mulenga. Now remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel as you watch this video. And here we go. Dr. Mulenga, how are you doing today?
Very fine, thanks.
It is lovely to have you back on another edition of Doctor's File. Today we're actually going into a problem which is quite common in our society and in the world at large. Hypertension. What is hypertension?
Hypertension. Well, simply put, it's a sustained raise of blood pressure.
A sustained raise of blood pressure.
Because you see, blood pressure sometimes after coffee, after running, after being stressed, actually changes.
Are there any measurements involved in this? When we just say raised blood pressure, what are we talking about?
Well, the normal blood pressure should be around 120/80, okay, millimeters of hydrogen. So if your blood pressure goes beyond 120/80, let's say 150, 90, 160, 100, that is hypertension.
How common is blood pressure or hypertension?
How common? Hypertension is a very, very common disease, especially now that our diets and our sedentary lifestyles, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We are driving to the toilet nowadays, you know. You get a taxi to go to the toilet, so you get a lot of problems with non-communicable diseases, which is hypertension, diabetes. They are all in the same group.
So what?
Very, very frequent.
And another thing I've always wondered, is it more common in us black people, or is it across the board?
I think there's been some literature that seems to suggest that there is more hypertension with black populace. So that's what the literature says. But if you look around the world, I think we are all affected.
Is it a fact that it is something which runs in the family?
Yeah, indeed. It has got a genetic component. If your parents or your grandparents had hypertension, you are more likely to have hypertension.
So what causes it?
There are two types of hypertension. There's primary, or sometimes they call it essential. That one, no one can really say what causes it. It just pops out from nowhere. Then there is the other type we call secondary, which is a bit rare, which is caused by, as the word says, secondary. That means secondary problems, other problems of the body, like stenosis of the renal artery, atherosclerosis, that is fatty vessels, vasculitis, inflammation of the vascular system. So some hormonal imbalances, okay? That is a rare form of hypertension. Generally, hypertension is primary or essential, and we do not know what really causes that.
So what are the dangers of somebody living with hypertension and it's going untreated?
I think you have seen dangers. I think you have seen people, they say, oh, he was alive yesterday, we were playing football, we were playing netball, and it just fell down and died. That is one of the dangers of hypertension. The likelihood of developing a stroke, and the stroke is bleeding in the brain. When that happens, and if it is massive, you just collapse and die. During hypertension, you have decreased blood flow to the organs, and one of the organs that suffers a lot is the kidney. So you get kidney failure with time, okay? And the other danger is heart failure. Because the blood pressure is high, blood is not getting very well to the heart. What happens? You develop what we call coronary heart disease. That means the blood circulation in the heart, in the muscles, is reduced, and you get a heart failure. So there are many. Eyes, retinopathy, not seeing. Sometimes with time you get blind.
There are a lot of popular herbal drugs which are being sold mainly by network marketing companies.
Yeah.
How is the efficacy of those?
No, those things don't work really, and it's a risk to go that route, and then you find most people end up having strokes. That's why we have increased strokes. because people are using all sorts of things. That's just business, Jimmy.
So today I am discovered with a hypertension. What do I do? Or is it something that I should be checking myself? Is it something that I should be going to the hospital to have checked in the first place?
Okay, fine. If we do a blood pressure on you and find that it is above 120/80, we do not diagnose hypertension. We say you have high blood pressure. So what we do is we take a BP for that day, and then we tell you to go back home. You come after 1 week, we do another one, another week passes. So we take about 3 measurements. And from 3 measurements, we can pretty make an accurate decision whether to start treatment or not.
So what interventions can one take when they are discovered with hypertension?
Apart from treatment, and we have different drugs, different types of drugs. There are plenty. I don't even have to go through them. You have to change your way of life. That is, you try to increase the intake of vegetables and fruits. All right, increase your exercise levels. Decrease the intake of salt and fats. So you have to change your diet, right? Work on stress factors, because the stress also increases blood pressure. So relax in life, right?
And finally, can one prevent themselves from ever becoming hypertensive in the first place?
Yes, reduce your weight. Okay, reduce your weight, improve on diet. That's how to prevent. Increase your exercise levels, reduce salt intake, don't smoke, reduce alcohol, and you have reduced the possibility of hypertension.
How about
even if it's there, it will be well controlled, maybe probably on diet only. You see what I mean?
How about we just reduce on everything else except for the alcohol?
Yeah, that's a good one.
And any final advice you'd have for people who do have hypertension?
I think my advice would be that do not wait if you have got high blood pressure or hypertension. Do not wait for you to develop symptoms like headache before seeking help. That is too late. Hypertension is a silent killer. So if we have measured and we found high blood pressure on several occasions, you need to take measures to see a doctor so that they can actually advise you on how to live and how to take which kind of medications. Never wait until you have got headache, then you take a tablet. Too late.
Thank you so much, doctor, for all that information. Now remember, you can actually leave a comment in the comment section if you want to have follow-up questions to this topic today.